And welcome back to Wellness Journeys. I'm Lana from wellnessjourneys.co.uk, and I'm doing two videos today. The first one, the title being "Why Can't I Get Love?" And I'm following that up. I'm carrying on with that video and talking today about why can't I get love? Talking about the self-critic, the self-judgments that we all have, and leading into how we can get love through, first of all, dismissing the myth that we have to earn love, and that is a myth. So we'll be looking at the lower self and the higher self, and how we integrate the lower and higher self to come to the heart self, where it's all about unconditional love. And before we can love anyone else, we have to love ourselves. We really do. So, carrying on, I was talking about guilt and shame that lies unconscious within us, and things that have happened to us in our past that have really made us believe that we are a bad person, or that we're not acceptable, we're not lovable. And guilt and shame is something that lies so deep in our subconscious, but it's there for a reason. And I believe that it's there for a reason because we have the human consciousness or unconsciousness or the intelligence to actually start to make decisions and start to change our life around by working through personal development and actually engaging with the nature of our true self. If we harm ourselves through ways of substance abuse, alcoholism, gambling, any sort of addiction that takes us out of the reality of who we are, that takes us to another place, then what happens is we do detach from our spiritual self. We do detach from that loving place. But why do we go back into that old story? Why do we go back into the past? Why do we create new memories? Why do we move forward in life, maybe with a new person, but the old memories still check in with us? You know, the bad memories that we try to forget. Well, a big part of this is because we we don't accept ourselves. We can make ourselves believe that we've done all the work, we've gone out there and we've done all the workshops and we've changed our life around. You know, when we were, abusing people when we were younger, um, when we were the school bully, when we were the abuser towards our partner, that was in our past. So you can see how guilt and shame sits with us. And to compensate that, as we get older, we start to look at ways of how we can compensate for the past where we believe that we weren't good enough. It can be following a routine of, how you saw your father or your mother treat each other. It can come from a routine of how you saw children in the playground bullying us. It can come from, that early experience of discrimination because we were disabled, we had a disability, or we chose to be true to our authenticity and come out as gay, or to make that decision to actually be true to our true self. As we believe that, we want to be the person that we were born to be. The next step then is taking that and showing it to the world, being brave enough to actually say, I love myself. Why can't I get love? Well, we go back, as I just said, into our story. And when we go back into our story, we actually look for ways to kind of bring the drama back to life. I had an experience once when I was in my 20s, where I was so full of going to different workshops, my enthusiasm to actually look to find a way of getting in touch with my pain, but at the same time to wanting to transform that pain. And I come to a place that through doing all the work on myself, doing the workshops, doing the inner work, going to silent retreats, and really engaging with myself, I came to a place of understanding that I couldn't transform my pain because my pain was what I had experienced. The only thing I could do was actually to heal myself through starting the transformation of bringing the self-love into my story, into my new story, the person that I am now, through the experience of actually opening up in all those workshops and all the work that talking to people, having mentors, becoming confident enough to actually sit here today and talk about things, having the confidence to say no. Because throughout life, I was one of those people that said yes to anything, anything and everything, just to be accepted. But actually transforming my pain meant that my belief was that to transform my pain, there was something that I had to give up. And I believe now that I didn't have to give anything up. All I had to do was actually start to embrace parts of myself that I had detached from. The first thing that I detached from when I look back was my child self. Now, we've all had childhood experiences that have been good or bad. We've had the perfect parents that have overprotected us and not given us the ability to actually find our own way in the world. And that means falling over and scraping our legs, hurting ourselves. And mum and dad, or mum or dad, being there behind us to say, I'm here, I love you, and it's okay, you're safe. We've had those experiences, but we've also had the experiences where, as children, have been abused emotionally, physically, sexually, mentally. And that is something that, how do we get through that? How do we transform that pain? Again, we can't transform it. All we can do is actually see it as part of the story and then start to learn to accept it. Once we can start to accept our pain, then it makes sense that we can start to accept our peace. We can start to accept our joy. We can start to embrace that loving part of ourselves that we detach from. Sometimes I work with people in inner child healing, and it's very, very hard for them to actually go there to be with their child. And there's a simple exercise that I give them, and that is to find an old picture of you as a child, usually between 5 and 8. You can find a picture even younger and sit with that picture, put it in a pretty gold frame, look at it, start to embrace it, start to come to terms with that child, because our child self is always wanting just to be loved. And that is where the voice comes from. Why can't I get love? It's coming from that little place. And as I said, even if we've had parents that have been fantastic to us and give us all the support and held us and helped us, we still have to go out into that big world. We still have to go out into the world that can sometimes be cruel and nasty. If I came from a rich family and I were privileged and I was entitled and I could have anything that I wanted, that would be great in some people's eyes. Wow, you've got the perfect childhood. But how does that child learn? How does it learn to actually be kind? How does it learn to acknowledge kindness if it's coming from privilege, if it's coming from too much entitlement, where a parent can make it believe that you can reach the stars, but you first of all have to learn how to make money. You first have to learn how to be rewarded financially. When we are rewarded financially, then we can buy anything we want. We can be whoever we want. And this is the thing, that we're not born into a world where we can make decisions. We're born into a world where we are given ideas of how life could be further down the line. So I'm not saying that people that come from privileged or entitled backgrounds, um, I'm just speaking generally because I know a lot of people that have come from entitled and privileged backgrounds that have gone on to become amazing human beings, philanthropists and charity workers, and people that have actually left and gone on a journey to work in developing countries and to learn from people. We can look at Prince Harry at the moment and his experience from coming from an entitled family, but there was something in his childhood where he was taught about human kindness and human love. He was taken to homeless shelters with his brother William. He was taken to meet the people that didn't have anything, that knew nothing about life apart from learning how to survive. But how did he turn out? How has he turned out? As a beautiful human being, not saying that he doesn't have his flaws. Obviously, he must do because he's human. But the point I'm making is that when we can actually find where our pain has come from, and then we can embrace that pain, and then through embracing that pain, we can ask that question, why can't I get love? Well, I can't get love if I don't believe I'm loved. And then if we take that to another level where I'm loved by not just my biological parents, but by my earthly mother and by my universal father. I'm loved by nature. I'm loved by everything in life. I'm loved by that stranger that met me on a bus and gave me a book to read about temptation. And that was another journey that I had traveling through California once, where I was sat on a bus and this stranger literally was getting off the bus and he handed me this book and he said, I don't need it anymore. I've read it and it's changed my life. Good luck. And that book did help me a lot. It helped me to understand temptation. It helped me to understand my temptation, and it helped me to understand about gratitude. It helped me to understand that we are all tempted in life, but at some point, we come to our divine nature, our divine ego, that we can make a choice. When we look at the chakra system, the front of our body, it's all about emotion. The rare chakras are all about our will, our intent. It's all about our independence. It's all about being strong. Our spine is about structure. So our willpower, we have choices. We can go this way or this way. We have choices. What would happen if we come to the center and we chose to be in the center? When we talk about the center, we talk about the inner peace. We talk about the love. We talk about the feelings. We talk about the mind. We embrace life in its entirety. We look out the window, it's raining. We embrace it. We feel that love for life. That's joy. That is joy. And within that, the reflection that comes back to us, there's an exercise that I learned some years ago, which you can try, and that is taking a mirror. A friend of mine reminded me of it recently. Taking a mirror and looking in a mirror, and actually looking at this mirror and pinpointing the things that you don't like, which is what the first thing that we go to is pinpointing the things that we don't like, but then actually keep going back to that mirror and eventually trying to find what we do like about our life, about ourselves. I hope to see you again. You've been watching this video because something brought you to me. My website is wellnessjourneys.co.uk. I'm on podcast on Wellness Journeys on Spotify. So take care and please join me again. Lots of love and have a great day.